What's up YouTube, DMLX here. I'm going to be breaking down the biggest highlights for me during E3 2021. Now overall, this year's E3 was pretty solid, I would say. You know, like every E3, it has its ups and its downs. I would say the weakest presentations were definitely Ubisoft and Square Enix. But Microsoft and Nintendo were able to provide some really cool reveals, which makes me look forward to the remaining game releases that are coming out this year, as well as the games that are coming out in 2022. Plus, one of the benefits of having E3 being entirely digital this time around is that there's less cringy live presentations, as well as annoying screaming audience members. I'm looking at you, Bethesda girl. That being said, it was a shame that Sony didn't attend E3 because you know they are holding some major first parties by the balls. Still, I wish PlayStation would at least release their own state of play alongside E3 and give us more updates on Final Fantasy 16, God of War Ragnarok, the newest Call of Duty, and some other third-party games that I'm sure PlayStation has promotional deals with. And with that being said, let's get on with breaking down E3. Starting with the Ubisoft Forward event, which I'll admit didn't capture much of my attention, seeing that there were no updates on Beyond Good and Evil 2, the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake, or even a new Splinter Cell for that matter. As for some of the reveals that were showcased, well, when it came to the announcement of Mario plus Rabbids Spark of Hope, you lost me at plus Rabbids. Now I know its predecessor Kingdom Battle was well received by critics and fans alike, but what can I say, I just don't vibe with those mutated furry gremlins. Then there was the announcement of Warriors Creed Valhalla getting more DLC in 2022, with the Siege of Paris set to release sometime this summer. We also get a better look at Far Cry 6's story and gameplay, with Giancarlo Esposito as the main antagonist this time around, as well as the reveal of Rainbow Six Extraction, which seems like it could be a fun Call of Duty Ghost Extinction-like romp to party up with friends online. But what really had my curiosity, which turned into having my full-blown attention, was the reveal of Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Pretty much Far Cry Primal Pandora Edition, Frontiers of Pandora is detailed to be an original story set across the western frontier of Pandora, where players can explore a living and reactive open world inhabited by unique creatures and new characters within the Avatar universe, all the while combating the formidable RDA forces that threaten it. The game is set to release on current-gen consoles and PC with the release of 2022, and will probably release around the same time as the sequel film to Avatar. That is, if the film doesn't get delayed for the 10th time. Now I know Avatar hasn't been relevant in over a decade, but you gotta admit, an open-world AAA Avatar game developed by Ubisoft is kind of a match made in heaven. Moving on, let's talk about the Square Enix Presents showcase, which can best be summed up as Marvel stuff and a whole lot of chaos. Breaking down the Marvel stuff, we get an update on the Marvel's Avengers content roadmap, including events such as the Cosmic Cube, which is a new villain sector where players face off against Monica Rappaccini wielding the Cosmic Cube, Wasteland Patrol, a new Warzone mission type, and the main course, the cinematic reveal of War for Wakanda, which will have King T'Challa aka Black Panther as a playable character, as well as provide a new story for players to experience, new villains to fight including Ulysses Claw, and a new region to explore, that being Wakanda. Honestly, after watching the trailer for War for Wakanda, it just makes me want a full-fledged open-world Black Panther game developed by Insomniac Games instead. That being said, I don't know if War for Wakanda will be enough to get Avengers back on the right track in terms of online support for players, but you know what they say, if it's free, then it's for me. Continuing to bank off the Marvel brand, Square Enix also reveals their upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy game being developed by EDLS Montreal, the developers of Deus Ex and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Set to release this year in October of 2021, I believe Guardians of the Galaxy has a better chance at critical success than Marvel's Avengers simply for being a single-player story-driven experience like Marvel's Spider-Man. In terms of gameplay, it's a third-person action-adventure game where the Guardians will traverse across multiple planets where players will come in contact with well-known and lesser-known characters from the cosmic side of the Marvel Universe, with the addition of dialogue and diverging path options for players to choose from to allow players to be more involved with the story.
Drax, throw him! No!
Very well!
Peter!
It's okay, he'll land on his feet. Ooh, I guess that only applies to cats.
Also, the game is set in an original Marvel universe, meaning it is not connected with Crystal Dynamics' Avengers game, as well as provide original character designs like Rocket sporting a goatee, and the game will have an 80s soundtrack that will include songs from Kiss, Iron Maiden, and even Rick Astley. However, the one major downside to this Guardians of the Galaxy game is that Star-Lord is the only playable Guardian, which is mind-boggling to me because that's like playing a Fantastic Four game where you only play as Mr. Fantastic. Honestly, I don't really understand this creative decision from EDLS Montreal. Yes, players have the ability to command members of the Guardians to do specific actions during combat, but I feel EDL's Montreal could have easily taken a page from Final Fantasy VII Remake and had players switch between Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Groot, and Rocket on the fly. Going from sci-fi to a more fantastical setting, we have the reveal of Strangers in Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. Yeah, it's best not to take a shot every time you hear the word chaos in this game. You'll end up in the ICU real quick. Developed by Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo, as well as character designs by Lord Nomura himself, Strangers in Paradise seems to play like Neo coded in Final Fantasy paint, with the gameplay looking fast-paced and brutally violent, but the story and dialogue?
The darkness is so thick I can taste it.
Honestly looks and sounds as paper thin as Mickey Mouse cutting sliced bread. And though this game is set to release sometime in 2022, the 1% that own a PS5 can play a trial version of Strangers in Paradise today. Transitioning over to Xbox and Bethesda's E3 showcase, let's start off with the brief gameplay reveal of Starfield. Expected to be Bethesda Game Studios' most ambitious game yet, Starfield is a galactic voyage where players can explore with nearly no bounds and embark on an epic journey to answer humanity's greatest mystery: space! Officially releasing on 11/11/2022, just like Skyrim back in 2011, Starfield will be exclusive to the Series X, S, and PC, as well as available day one on Game Pass, adding to the stacked list of games set to drop in 2022. Next, we have the closest thing to Kingdom Hearts to get announced during E3, Sea of Thieves: A Pirate's Life. Revealed to be a free story campaign expansion to Rare's swashbuckling adventure game themed around the world of Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean, players end up rescuing and recruiting Captain Jack Sparrow to aid in protecting the Sea of Thieves from Davy Jones and the rest of the crew on the Flying Dutchman. From the high seas to the near future, we have the official gameplay reveal of Battlefield 2042, releasing as a multiplayer-only experience. Current gen and PC versions of 2042 will have massive scale 128 player battles on maps with dynamic storms and environmental hazards that is set to bring the Battlefield series to new heights. From established IPs to the rise of new ones, we have the CG reveal of Redfall. Developed by Arcane Studios, best known for the Dishonored series and the Prey reboot, Redfall is described to be an open-world co-op first-person shooter where players build up a team of vampire slayers with unique abilities that range from supernatural to technological, and is set to be another exclusive to Series X, S, and PC with the release window of 2022. Hard to judge what to expect from this game since it is just a CG trailer, but the world of Redfall looks interesting enough to give the benefit of the doubt, and I'm really digging the designs of the vampires. Lastly, with Xbox, we get a deeper look into Halo Infinite, starting with a brief scene from the campaign, showcasing a major visual upgrade since the Craig debacle, a deeper look into the overall story, and the reveal of Chief's new girlfriend, AI companion, that looks a lot like Cortana. Moments later, we get our first look at multiplayer gameplay, from the maps, armor customization, to vehicle mayhem, as well as showing off new weapons like the Skewer, Pulse Carbine, and Bulldog Shotgun, and the use of equipment such as the Grapple Shot and Drop Wall. On top of that, we get the announcement of multiplayer being free to play come holiday 2021. Knowing this, making all of multiplayer free to play is a huge deal for the series and can easily bring back Halo to the glory days of the online multiplayer scene. Just be prepared for the abundance of microtransactions that will soon follow. Wrapping things up, let's talk about Nintendo. Unfortunately, no announcement of a new Switch console, but Nintendo did deliver on some exciting gaming content set to release in the coming months, as well as within 2022. Starting with the announcement of Mario Party Superstars, which is the collection of the 5 classic boards remastered from the Nintendo 64 Mario Party games, with 100 classic minigames from the 64 and GameCube era that can be played locally or online. Now when it comes to updates on Metroid Prime 4, Nintendo basically said, to hell with that game, here's Metroid 5 instead, aka Metroid Dread. This is the first new 2D Metroid story in 19 years, not counting Samus Returns because that was a remake of Metroid 2, Samus Returns. Set after the events of Metroid Fusion, Samus is tasked to descend upon planet ZDR to investigate a mysterious transmission sent to the Galactic Federation. A new enemy type creeps its way into the Metroid canon in the form of robots known as Emi, that look like animalistic versions of the Portal robot set on instant kill mode. Full disclosure, I've actually never played any of the Metroid games before, but from the looks of the latest entry in the series, I think it's about time I go on my first spacebound adventure with one of the most elite bounty hunters in gaming history. Speaking of gaming icons, we get to reveal Kazuya Mishima from Tekken joining the Smash roster. Arguably one of the best / darkest character reveals for a Smash fighter to date, Kazuya is introduced into the world of Smash through the old Mishima family tradition, throwing one's adversary off a cliff, into a river of magma. Thankfully, Kirby was able to survive the encounter. With Kazuya positioned as the second Bandai Namco rep for Smash, the first being Pac-Man, it's about time Tekken got the recognition it deserves. During the gameplay reveal for Kazuya, we get a good look at over 30 of his iconic moves from the Tekken series, the Mishima Dojo as the new stage, and the ability to have Kazuya go into his devil form. Even though I would have preferred Nightmare from Soul Calibur, it's hard to deny Tekken as the top of the food chain when it comes to 3D fighting games. Now as for why Kazuya was picked over his father Heihachi, well maybe it's because Nintendo didn't want PlayStation All-Star's sloppy seconds, but still wanted to keep it in the family with picking Kazuya, simply for being an OG Tekken fighter. Closing up the Nintendo E3 showcase with what will undoubtedly be one of the most anticipated games of 2022, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Though we still don't have the official title for Link's next major quest in the Calamity era, the gameplay that was shown in the trailer seems to have expanded upon what Breath of the Wild has established, with the addition of exploring the skies of Hyrule, giving off vibes of Skyward Sword, Link obtaining a new power that deals with manipulating time and matter with his hand, the possible resurrection of the Dark Lord himself Ganondorf, and with Hyrule Castle rising to the sky, that can only mean one thing: RIP speedrunners. And there you have it, those are my favorite game reveals from this year's E3. Let me know what games stood out to you in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, really helps me out. Subscribe for more content from me on games in general. I'm DMLX. I'll see you in the future.